Good afternoon, friends. Happy to be here with you this afternoon, and I'll be engaging you for the next half an hour or so on a very important aspect of your preparation, which is often paid less attention. We all know how to prepare for the interview, but only few of us care to know how not to prepare for the interview. This is also important. How not to do certain things does not apply only to interview but each aspect of our life. We must know how to live, also how not to live. We must know how to study, how not to study. We also must know how to behave and how not to behave. So this how not to prepare for interview is part of the larger question of life, where we are supposed not to only know what we are supposed to do but also supposed to know what we are not supposed to do. And I have chosen this topic and I'll engage you in the coming half an hour on those aspects which are avoidable during your preparation for interview, and if you consider those inputs, it will help you with a better performance. Now, what are the things that we should not be doing for the interview? I must tell you at the very beginning that it's a personality evaluation test. It's not a knowledge test, and all of us know that. But what aspects of your personality are going to be evaluated for half an hour by the UPSC board? Always remember two aspects. One is certain personality traits. Sometimes they are also called characteristics of your personality. Personality traits can be your positive traits, they can be your negative traits. Let's talk about some of the traits of our personality. How intelligent we are, how skillful we are, how extrovert we are, how practical we are, how enthusiastic we are. These are all traits of our personality that comes out during our engagement with the board or somebody else while we are talking. In your day-to-day life, you must have felt and experienced that when you talk to someone or a group of people, they will praise you. Oh, you have got a dynamic, enthusiastic personality. And if you don't have that, then people will not tell you in front of you, but they'll tell you, such a boring person, he was so passive, he was looking dull, he was looking unenthusiastic. They are commenting on your personality traits. Needless to say that your personality traits should be very, very positive before the board, and unless you are aware about your personality traits, then chances are that you will present a wrong personality before the board and not the right personality. You are a mixture of right and wrong personality. You might be very, very knowledgeable, but your articulation may not be up to that level. You might be introvert, you might be slightly fearful, scared. These are negative traits of personality. So therefore, you have to first explore your own personality as to where you are exhibiting a positive personality trait consisting of the words that I have used just now: how skillful you are, how enthusiastic you are, how much social concerns you show. All this will be part of your personality. Now, second term I want to use before you is called disposition. All of us are disposed towards things in some way or the other. Disposition is how we react to or respond to certain situations, how we are disposed towards that. For example, suppose My disposition is that I get really very fast nervous. So if I'm asked a very embarrassing question, if I'm asked a question which really I do not know, then if my disposition is bad, then I'll get very scared, I'll get very diffident, I'll get very defensive. That's my disposition. But suppose on the other hand, I have a personality where I always try to hold my ground and try to find out a solution to any problem that comes to me, and I remain cool in every situation, I remain steadfast in all situations, then my disposition is positive. I am faced with a very unusual situation, but my disposition keeps me always floating. I'll give you an example in real life. What was so remarkable in the rescue operation in Uttarakhand that happened recently, where 41 workers were rescued after 17 days. We know one part of it. All the technology that was applied, the right mining that was done, all fine. We tried from the outside world to help them and we did succeed. But what was the disposition of the people who were trapped there, the workers? All of them, if they had a bad disposition and very negative disposition, some of them would have cracked in the situation. But I'm sure all of them had the perseverance, had the disposition to look forward to positive aspects of life, optimism that one day they will be rescued. That helped them to face all the hurdles for 17 days. That's a matter of disposition. We should show same kind of disposition that, look, I'm in a bad situation, I'm facing a bad situation given by the board, but still my disposition will be very positive, will be very optimistic, and I'll be always trying to get out of the problem that has been confronting me. That kind of disposition you should always exhibit. Now, 2 points I have raised here. One is about your personality traits. Find out what are your positive personality traits, what are your negative personality traits, and second is that how you are disposed as a person, and I gave you an example also. Now let's move to next on another aspect, that after all, while they are evaluating your personality, they are looking for certain competencies in you, how competent you are. They won't look for an incompetent person for a civil services job. But what is your competence? Competence can be defined as your self-mastery over certain situations, certain subjects, certain rules and procedures. If you are competent, then you can show your competence in your work, in your studies, your guardianship as a father or as a husband or whatever. Otherwise, people will tell you he is an incompetent student, or people will tell you he is an incompetent father or he is an incompetent son. These terms are being used in day-to-day language. So competence is the key word that you should try to understand, and you have to prove to a large extent that you are a competent candidate. Now, competencies are of two types. One is your intellectual competency that will be tested during the interview. And what is your intellectual competency? Obviously, your basic knowledge, the fundamentals of your subject, and secondly, your linguistic skills, how much you have learned how to articulate your views and all. These will be your intellectual competencies. If you know a variety of subjects, if you know good articulation in English or Hindi, whatever is your mother tongue, all this will be called your intellectual competencies. A person who does not have these competencies, he will not be able to engage with the board in a very meaningful manner. Other than that, you will have also to prove your moral competencies, because they are looking for certain qualities in you which can be called your ethical qualities, moral qualities. What do I mean by this? By this I mean that you have to make the board understand, or you have to convince the board that you have the ability to do the right thing. Because as a civil servant, you are always supposed to choose the right path and do the right thing, act rightly. How will you show your moral competency? In your answers, in your conversations, you must prove that you know what is the right thing to do in a given situation and what is within your power to do that right thing. Willpower to do the right thing. Knowing the right thing is not enough. All of us know that the traffic is bad in Delhi. The traffic policeman knows, the traffic commissioner knows, the government knows, but where is the willpower to do the right thing? So traffic remains bad. All of us know that our children are not doing the right things. They are into mobiles, they are into internet, they are into all kinds of avoidable things. We know that. But do we have the power to correct it? That's why you find that these habits continue. So you should know the right thing as well as how to really do the right thing. For that, you should have the power and the willingness to do the right thing. Power does not mean power coming from your post or your chair. Power is your intrinsic power, that is your willpower, that I'll do the right thing come what may. Even if you are supposed to suffer personal losses, then you will do the right thing in public interest, because you are entering a public service through civil services, in which the super thing in your mind should be, upper thing in your mind should be always the public interest. You are acting in the public interest. So let me sum up that you must show certain competencies during the conversation and sell yourself as a competent candidate in terms of showing certain intellectual qualities, competencies, as well as some moral competencies. This is very, very important to bear in mind. Now, having said this, let me turn to what not to prepare for IAS exam, interview. Many things, in fact. First thing is that it is not very prudent, not very wise to start thinking of IAS interview after your mains results are out, and then suddenly you are in a very tight position how to prepare for the interview. When you are developing a personality, it should be a work in progress. It should be an ongoing process, ongoing project. Every day you should try to refine your personality by engaging yourself in more than just reading textbooks and this and that. Textbooks will give you knowledge to write the main exam or prelims exam or crack any other exam, but it will not build your personality. If you are looking at political science textbooks, history textbooks, sociology textbooks, they are not going to build your personality to a great extent. They will only make you aware of the subject. Or even if you read the newspaper, if you hear something about this news or that news, you are only adding to the knowledge. Personality development is something different. So you have to first remember that don't consider that you will face the interview only after you have qualified in the main examination. This awareness should come at a much earlier age. The moment you decide to give the civil services exam, you must also consider how you are going to refine and develop a very, very presentable personality, a very, very agreeable personality. It's a long-term exercise. It doesn't happen in one day. Whatever I am today, I am a product of a long development of my experiences in life, and then those experiences, those efforts have given me a particular personality. I'm not just sitting here today and suddenly I'm having a personality before you to talk as an IAS expert. No, not like that. It has taken its own time to evolve the way I am. Similarly, you have to also evolve in the same manner over a period of time. So first is this to keep in mind. A second thing that you must keep in mind is that normally you feel that you will read more and more and then you will go for the interview board and that will help you. Well, it's not like that. Interview will engage you in quite different things. It's more about day-to-day experiences and how you look at those experiences rather than knowing about the subject matter itself. For example, we know that road rage has become very, very frequent in Delhi, or for that matter in other cities also, more so in Delhi. People are impatient, they are very violent, they are killing on the road over small issues. They'll ask you a question on that. What explains the road rage? Why it's happening? And they will ask you, if you are yourself stuck in this kind of road rage situation, and then how will you react and respond? How will you control the situation? Now, this is not coming from textbook. That will come from your day-to-day engagement with a lot of social issues, lot of problems in life that we are facing in day-to-day life as a citizen or as an administrator or as a country. So you must know that you have to engage more with those issues rather than engaging with again more and more knowledge and adding to your knowledge. I gave you one example of traffic. It can be hundreds of examples will be there. That's happening today. So they will try to find out in you things other than the textbookish knowledge, day-to-day knowledge, which is called behavioral science. It's all about behavior of society, where we are moving in terms of this, in terms of that, and how you have really absorbed those issues and all that. If you happen to be from Delhi, Delhi has got 1000 problems. Pollution problem, traffic problem, problems of governance, problems of fight between the Lieutenant Governor and the Delhi government, and many more can be added to that. Now, unless you know and you have observed these things firsthand, how can your answers will be credible? How your answers will look true? They will not look true. So have you ever thought that I'll be asked these kind of questions? If you have not thought about it, you better think about it, because this is not something that you will develop only during the interview board. You have to develop this quality much before and much before. Third thing I would like to tell you, that people ask me how much to prepare for optional. Now, how not to prepare for the optional will be the point I'll try to discuss here. See, they do ask you questions on optional paper, not always, but for some candidates they'll engage you on the optional paper. It's geography, political science, history, mathematics, whatever. But you can't read the optional paper thoroughly, in the sense that they are not going to ask you textbookish questions on your optional paper. And even if they ask you, you can always say that I do not know, sir, I do not remember at the moment. Even on that they will ask you very, very practical questions. For example, if you are a student of history, then they are not going to ask you, tell us about the economic policies or the agricultural policies of the British in India or Mughals in India. That sounds very bookish. They will only ask you what has been the positive impact of Mughal rule on Indian architecture, what has been the contribution of the British in developing a modern India. This kind of question they will ask you. What was Gandhi's strategy to fight the freedom struggle? This kind of question they will ask you, rather than typical questions like the industrial policy, agricultural policy, economic policy, administrative policy. No, they won't like that. The same goes for other optionals also. Mechanical engineering you have, they will not ask you the typical internal combustion machine and how it works and all that. They will only ask you about some applied aspects of mechanical engineering or mathematics or whatever optional paper you have got. So my point is that in terms of how not to prepare for the optional paper, there is no need to read the entire optional paper and be a master of it, but you must display your own conception of the subject and be able to answer certain practical questions which may be raised by the board. So there is nothing to feel very, very stressed about preparing for the optional paper, but you must apprehend, realize and visualize the kind of questions they are going to ask you on the optional paper, the way I gave the examples, and prepare like that. Even if they ask a technical question about your optional paper and you do not know, you have always the liberty to say that, sir, at the moment I do not remember, and they will take it positively. They will not take it negatively. They will not say that, oh, this person does not know history at the moment. That's not the idea to test. So it doesn't have too much of say in the interview process, optional paper. It has only limited say in the interview process. More will be on other aspects. Another thing, how not to prepare for the interview is that don't receive bad inputs coming from market sources for your interview preparation. A very important point I am raising, and I am raising it quite bluntly. Unfortunately, lots of inputs have come in the market in terms of videos, in terms of big advertisements, where people will tell you, we will do this for interview, we will do for interview. 2 pages advertisement they will give you. It's all redundant, unrequired, avoidable. How can you structure your interview in such a technical manner and go to the board like that? Are you going to create a statue out of you? The way they tell you how to do this, how to do that, means they will create a perfect statue for yourself. You should look like Buddha, you should look like Mahavira, you should look like Ganesha. Then happen. These are bad inputs. And what happens, if you get too much of these inputs, then your mind will get totally, biased. You will have a bias that these things will be asked and you will start preparing for that. Don't do that. That's the purpose of my session here, that don't make the interview so much structured as being told by the market, because it doesn't happen that way. Let me assure you, it doesn't happen like that way. It's not like a statue that you go there just a flexible figure. Don't go like a permanent statue of Mahavira and Buddha and so that you are a structured Buddha. No, not at all. So these structured things that they are talking about, that they will teach you 2 months of current affairs, they will teach you this, they will teach you that, nothing of that sort is going to happen. If you do too much of those kind of exercises, the chances are that you will be moving away from the reality of the interview and getting into something which never happens there. So whatever you have got as inputs, they will not work out in the interview at all. So why to go into that? Now the next point is that many people take dozens of mock interviews. Obviously there will be lots of differences and variation in the standard of the board, credibility of the members who take the interview, credibility of the questions that they are going to ask you, and then again it will leave you confused. How many inputs you want for the interview? People have a tendency to run from one mock board to another mock board to another mock board, and they tell that we want to get our personality tested. How many testing you want to do for personality? Let me raise a question to you. If you go to AIIMS and get your test done, then you should run to 5 other hospitals also to get yourself tested? Your answer will be no. Once you have been tested that these are the inputs in your health or something, you will go for the remedy rather than running from one hospital to another hospital for further testing. The same thing happens about your mock interviews and all that. Rather than sitting and preparing for your interview, you tend to run from one interview to another interview, and then you are left confused. My advice is, keep your mock interviews limited. Don't get exposed to all kinds of things, because they are all not a standard like AIIMS. Rather, I would prefer, if I am a candidate, that I'll choose a good interview board, mock interview board, wisely, and I'll get their inputs. If they tell me these are the 5 points that you have to work on, I'll work on that, and again I'll get back to the same board so that they can assess me. So you cannot say that AIIMS has recommended certain things to you and then you go to another hospital to get your assessment. It looks ridiculous. To me, it looks very, very ridiculous. So a more practical way of attending mocks is that you should try to confine yourself to certain boards only, rather than trying out all the boards. It's not required at all. It will not help you in getting good marks and all that. And get back to the same board with your inputs, that sir, this is what you have told me to prepare and now what we are preparing. So please see whether I have been able to overcome these deficiencies or not. You should do like that. Next point is that don't ever prepare for the interview board as if you are writing the GS exam again for prelims and mains. The factual information will have not much importance there. If you keep on reading the same newspapers, that you were reading for your mains exam. You have to change your habit. If you do not change your habits, then you are not changing your direction towards interview. You are again preparing for the same thing, for the written exam. Let me explain this a little further. Now, how you diversify your reading habits for the interview? You have to read more than one newspaper, not depending on one famous newspaper or so, and read those newspapers which are favorable with the older citizens like the interview board members. They are used to well-established newspapers which are being published and they are in big circulation. You will find every day these newspapers in front of their doors. They will have read some news from that newspaper. On that basis, they will frame some questions. If you have not read the same newspaper, how will you answer that question? Because you have not gone through that particular article. So try to read what you feel is read by the board also. That's very, very important. Newspapers alone will not help you to answer the questions in the interview board, and you need to consult certain magazines. Lots of social issues, social evils, prohibition, violence, many news keeps coming. A better analysis of those social evils or international issues is given in certain good journals. So you should read at least 2 journals which can openly recommend here. For the last 2 months you just try to look at it, and then the current one also. One will be Frontline and second will be Down to Earth. Both are beautiful journals. Frontline is an holistic journal which covers all the issues, and Down to Earth covers all the environmental issues. These 2 journals will help you tremendously to prepare for the interview, and look at these journals carefully. They are very, very standard articles in those journals, and I recommend it to you right from now. Now, when you go to the interview and the members put you in some awkward situation by asking some awkward questions which they do deliberately to know your responses. They might ask you, for example, if you are from Bihar, they'll ask you, what is this prohibition? I don't like it. I think people should have a free choice. They should drink. What will happen if they drink and all? People are drinking in Delhi, people are drinking in Mumbai. So let there be no prohibition in Bihar. What do you think? Now they provoked you for an answer. So you cannot just agree with them and say that yes, yes sir, you are right, prohibition is not good, so we should make it free like Delhi and Mumbai. That's not your answer. You are not supposed to agree with the board. So how not to prepare for the interview also includes how not to agree with the board. You have to answer this kind of question in a very humble way by telling the board that yes sir, you have a valid point when you say that when liquor is free and allowed in Delhi or Mumbai, then why not in Bihar? But I would beg to differ here, because prohibition has been imposed in Bihar looking at the larger social and economic impact of liquor on society, and in that I will say it's a good step, provided it is not done in a way to harass the citizens and allow the illegal liquor business to go on and deaths caused by that and policemen extorting things like that. Then by itself is a good measure, because all said and done, liquor is a social evil which impacts the poor family most, which impacts the women most, and blah blah blah. So it's not that you will say because the board has asked you that liquor ban is bad, so you will say yes sir, liquor ban is bad. Learn to disagree also with the board, but the way I have answered this question of liquor, like this you have to say. Then they will say, okay, this boy holds the ground and he has got his own logic to disagree with me, and they will not be unhappy with you. Rather, they will be very, very happy with you. Next is that Don't seek sudden changes in your personality. Overnight you can't change yourself. You can't become a Virat Kohli in 10 days. A batsman like Virat Kohli, can you? You can't become an actor like Amitabh Bachchan in the 20 days of preparation. By just changing your voice, your style, other things. So why to seek change? Don't seek change in your present personality. Present your original personality without trying to seek last minute changes, but present your refined personality. True personality is not your raw personality. True personality is your refined and your better personality. True personality is not what you do in your bedroom by wearing anything or talking anything and eating anything. Here the true personality will be a well polished personality which gives positive vibes to the board. So true personality is there, but it's your refined personality, it's your sophisticated personality, it's your better personality, not the one that you carry on day-to-day basis. But don't change your personality. People will tell you that change your voice, it's very low, it's very fast, your eye movement is like this, like that. You cannot change. Rather, what will happen that you will become conscious of this. Am I moving my eyes here and there? Am I speaking low? Am I speaking fast? That will make you nervous if you go with these inputs in the board. Nobody cares. So long as they are able to hear you, so long as they are able to see you, nothing will matter in the board. So this is also an important part of your interview preparation, not to change your personality, not to change your ways, because you cannot change it in the next 10 days at all. And I'm sure that none of you will have this kind of deficiency that you are not able to speak, you are not able to do something. You will be able to do things. If you do not know very fluent English, then you can't become fluent like Shakespeare in 10 days of preparation. You will remain what you are. You have to go with that. If you do not know too much of current affairs, in 10 days you cannot master the entire current affairs. What I am trying to tell you, that go with what you have. Go to the interview board with whatever you have accumulated so far. That itself is enough for you to be tested. There is no need to increase the basket in 10 days and carry a big basket on your head. That's not going to happen. So have belief in yourself, have faith in yourself that within the limited knowledge that you have, the limited English that you know, the limited manners you know, you will be tested in that. Don't try to expand it. It's not required at all, let me tell you. Board's job is to make you comfortable, and board's job is to find out how positive a person you are to work for the government. So they are not looking for super qualities in you, because they are not going to send you in the space as a rocket scientist or as an astronaut or as a something else. They are not going to do that. They are only going to send you to a government job where they want that an honest officer should do this job and an honest officer should do this job, and like that. That's what they are looking for. So you have to link your interview with a job, that is civil services job. What is required there? So these things are not required there, that you should act in a supreme way. It's not required at all. You are a cool personality, you are a genuine personality, you are a true personality, you know how to engage with the board. This will make the board very, very happy and very, very pleased. I'll stop here and hope to talk to you on other aspects of the interview in the coming days. Thank you.